whenever you're ready.
I'd like to speak just Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming in this weather. We really appreciate that. I think that you will be happy that you came. The guys in the office of the judge have worked really hard to bring you a very good presentation. But before we get started, I just wanted to say that the Pecan Valley Republican Women does not and is not endorsing any candidate running in the primaries. I did contact the TFRW about having this, since it was so close to the primaries, and they highly encouraged us to put it on. It is a good thing for our community. So I would like to ask at this time Robert if he will lead us in our invocation.
Go pray with me, please. Look at that. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening, thanking you for all of your valuable blessings, the freedoms we enjoy in this country, the opportunity of free elections, and the opportunity for people to learn about the people that have put themselves in a position to serve. Pray that you would help give us discerning minds as we consider these candidates, and that we be mindful that it is our blessing and our constitutional right to express our voice in the voting box. Pray that we would not sacrifice that response through inactivity or ignorance. Watch over us, lead us, and guide us. Give us strength and courage in us. In your holy name we pray.
And while you're standing, let's go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance for the United States. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag.
I
Pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Thank you all. You may be seated. I just want to let you know that we are very, very honored to be able to bring you this presentation tonight. And without anything further, I'm just going to turn it over to our presenters.
Well, you started, didn't you?
There you go.
There we go. Well, welcome to the State of the County Address. I'm Bob James, and I'm going to be your Master of Ceremonies this evening. Welcome. It's a great word. It says a lot about the people of Brown County. We welcome you to move here. We welcome you to vacation here. We welcome you to hunt here. We welcome folks to study here, and we welcome folks to start businesses here. The list goes on. It's also the name of the first settler, the first farmer, the first county judge, and then to become the first postmaster for Brown County. You see, in 1856, Welcome W. Chandler from Mississippi became the first settler, arriving with his family. They built a log cabin on Pecan Bayou. Welcome donated the land for the first courthouse. There have been 4 courthouses in Brown County since 1856. The county was formed from Comanche and Travis counties, and Brown County was named after Henry Stevenson Brown, an American pioneer from Kentucky. Now, in 1858, the county was formally organized, and Brownwood was designated as the county seat. Since 1856, when Chandler first settled Brown County has grown to 957 square miles and 13 square miles of water, mainly from Lake Brown. Included communities are Zephyr, Bangs, Brooksmith, Blanket, May, Early, Winchell, Indian Creek, Lake Brownwood, and Brownwood. As for education, Brown County is proud to have top-ranked educational opportunities in Brownwood, Early, Bangs, Brooksmith, May, and Zephyr, along with Victory Life Academy and the Premier High School. Higher education includes Howard Payne University, Texas State Technical College, and Ranger College. Brown County is a great place to live, it's a great place to work, and a great place to raise a family. With a crime rate lower than the national average, we enjoy the comfort and peace of mind. When our kiddos are outside playing or off to school, we can rest easy. As you can see on the video presentation, there's always something to do in Brown County. Festivals, performances at the Lyric Theater, art shows, there's car shows, fishing tournaments, hunting, football, and basketball. With the Brownwood Country Club and the Hideout and other area golf courses, you can enjoy your time on the lakes. Lake Brownwood is the focus of many fishing tournaments and throughout the year. Playing, splashing, jet skiing, and more can take the edge off of a hot summer day with you and your friends. You may just want to lay out, you may want to cook out, or you may want to do both at Sandy Beach, Lake Brownwood State Park, or at Flat Rock. Brown County is a hunter's paradise with an abundance of deer, depending on where you're at the time and their mood, turkey, dove, quail, ducks, and maybe unfortunately wild hogs. You'll have a great time with friends, with your family, or business associates enjoying hunting here in Brown County. For venues and local events, we are blessed. Multitudes of events at local venues, such as the Stagecoach Station with their haunted trail, their concerts, the 9/11 Remembrance Festival, the Lennis Railroad Museum with the Polar Express experience, Los Tres, a unique place, the old west town south of Early on 183. They host country bands, vendors, gunfights during such programs as On the Streets of Los Tres, the Summer Concert Series, Summer Nights, and many more. Diamond R Cafe with great food and music such as Dylan Wheeler and the Hayden Haddock Band. The Bangs American Legion Hall with the Bangs Country Western Musical. And Bangs Project Graduation brings you the Haunted House. The Brown County Fair Association, some in this room still recuperating from the Brown County Youth Fair. Also the Summer Rodeo, the Shoot for the Cause, Market and Trade Days, and the Monster Truck Family Reunion Tour. Moto Extreme Circus, the Hispanic concerts, and a whole lot more. The Brownwood Lyric Theater with stage play performances that have included Mamma Mia, Elf, Rumors, You Can't Take It With You, Clue, the music of Johnny Cash and the Ring of Fire, and kids' theater workshops. Sporting events, including local area football and some of the best school stadiums in Central Texas. And we can't mention football without congratulating the May Tigers on a tremendous season this year. Baseball and softball tournaments, we have seen some state tournaments come through here with numbers that just boggle the mind. Golf tournaments, golf scrambles, fishing and fishing tournaments, frisbee golf, that's a new addition. Hunting and skeet shooting, the Color Run 5K that's brought to you, it's sponsored by the Center for Life Resources. Then there's the Brownwood Coliseum. They have the Heart of Texas Quilt Show, the JC's Lone Star Fair and Expo and Rattlesnake Roundup, a bevy of quinceaneras, a gun and knife shows, and Howard Payne University basketball. Then there's Coggin Park for tennis matches, something that I didn't know existed until a couple of years ago, pickleball lessons, and Easter egg hunts. In Zephyr, the Paskey Whiskey Ranch with the crawfish boil and live music, Howard Payne University's production of Cinderella, Brownwood Chamber of Commerce and their Corks and Caps, Cinco de Mayo, Christmas Under the Stars, and the Christmas Parade. The Heart of Texas Camp and Retreat, they host the Family Camp Christmas Festival. Brown County Museum of History and the Historic Jailhouse hosting a lot of writers' workshops. Howard Payne University's Douglas MacArthur Academy of Freedom. There aren't many places that I go that people haven't heard of that. The annual Heartland Rod Run, including the poker run, the car show, the burnout contest, the vendors, and more. The Brownwood Civic and Cultural Center, that is the home of the Stars of Texas Juried Art Exhibit. Barbecue cook-offs, Lake Brownwood State Park. I'd never heard of a spider sniffing walk until I read about that this year. A photo scavenger hunt, and the question, spiders, friends or foes? I say foes. Habitat bingo and more. The Camp Bowie Aquatic Center and the park splash pads. For food, you know what, in Brown County, you can have just about anything. Great sit-down restaurants, you'll find mouth-watering steaks, seafood, Hispanic selections, Asian delicacies, designer soups, and local entree creations that amaze even the best and pickiest of us. No shortage of the convenience of our fast food choices either. And look out when a festival comes to town. When a festival or special event comes to town, you can get just about anything on a stick, and most often it's going to be fried. Brown County also sports some wonderful locations to have an adult beverage. The Spirit of Texas Winery, Teddy's Brew House, 10 Mile Productions, CJ's Cigar Lounge, the Pioneer Tap House, Stones Grove, and the Turtle Inoteca. For shopping, no shortage of shopping, and not a huge reason to leave Brown County. We've got shopping, antique, and curio shops, Cuter's Corner in Zephyr, the Hen House here in Brownwood, Butterbean's Antiques in Early, the Antique Mall in Brownwood, Little Cactus Boutique in Early, Dazzling Divas in Brownwood, Duke Street in Brownwood, out in Bangs, Three Chicks Treasures, Shaw's Marketplace here in Brownwood, Cabin Crafts and Scents in May, Hamilton's in Brownwood, Triple H Leatherworks in Lake Brownwood, and the Intermission Bookshop in Brownwood, and that list goes on and on. As for business and industry, Brown County is ideal for small and large businesses. The Brownwood Regional Airport is ideal for most any size airplane with runways in multiple directions, and being in their flight path, I know there's any number of different sizes of airplanes that land at Brownwood Regional. Train railway stretching through the industrial park. A convergence of highways through the county seat is the trifecta of moving products and people. For business or group retreats, nothing better than the Heart of Texas Baptist Camp and Conference Center, the Lake Brownwood 4-H Conference Center, and you see, Brown County does have something for everyone. And if you can't find anything to do, you're probably just not looking hard enough, because we are a power-packed county. Right here in Brown County, we've got a little bit of everything for everybody. I want to leave you with this final thought. Keep your face always towards the sunshine, and your shadows will fall behind you. And I want to say, Pat, you did a great job. Pat's responsible. So, without further ado, and I did give Judge Lilly warning that I would be recording him for news. Please welcome Dr. Paul Lilly.
Thank you. Not quite as tall as he is. Forgive me. Thank you all for coming out, especially on a cold night. I first was invited to give it was kind of well, they called it a state of the county. I was right after I took office in 2019. The Brownwood Chamber had contacted me and said, "Would you be our guest speaker?" I'm thinking it was February, and I said, "Well, I just took office. What would you like me to speak about?" And they said, "Well, if you could just give us a state, like the city does, a state of the county, where we are, where you hope to be." And so I did that, and I spoke for about 30 minutes. And they said, they asked, "Would you like to come back and do this each year?" And I said, "Well, I think that'd be a fantastic tradition to begin." That was in 2019, and then we all know what happened in 2020. We spent most of the year hunkered down because at the time, COVID scared the dickens out of most of us. We didn't know what it was. Every night on the news, they were telling us something different. So it was just safer to stay in and not gather in large groups. And then we had the shutdowns that came. So it was a very tough year. So we didn't get to pick up again in 2020, and then 2021 wasn't much better in the spring anyway. So things pretty much leveled off, and I began thinking back then that I would like to try and pick this up again, and hopefully whoever comes into this office after my day is done and gone will continue on and also present something like this each year. We don't have near as much to present. I've been to several of the ones hosted here, and the last one hosted right here by where the mayor spoke, and then I've also attended most of the ones since I moved here, where the Brownwood state of the city. We don't have, at the county, we don't have a budget like Brownwood has. We don't have nearly as many irons in the fire, but it is important, I believe, for the people out there to know what their elected officials are doing. And the county seat is one of 254 counties in the state of Texas. And I think it's important to know, for the public to know, that the commissioners and all of their elected officials, and I'm going to recognize some of them here in just a minute, work very diligently. And they work, very hard to follow their hearts and to make the right decisions. And we don't always agree politically, but that doesn't matter. What we always agree on is that we are all doing what we feel is the right thing to do for the county. So with that being said, I will start off, and I hope you don't mind if I work a little humor in here. I'm a transplant, like a lot of people are in Brown County now. I wasn't born and raised here. I was born about 20 miles west of Fort Worth, and until I was about 9 years old. And my father was hired on by, back then, General Dynamics, now Lockheed Martin, the defense contractor. So my father packed us up, and he moved us into the big city, the west side of Fort Worth, which, I'd only visited a few times that I can recall. And I remember that's when I came to Brownwood. There's a reason where I'm going with this story is Brownwood in Brown County. Early, all of our communities is such a special place. And I came from a rural setting and moved into a large urban city. I taught at Howard Payne for many, many years, and a lot of our local students from high school would attend Howard Payne, and they'd say, well, I'd ask them, well, what are your career goals? I'm moving to the big city. I can't wait to get out here. And I'm telling them, now listen, that's not all it's cracked up to be. I promise you, I've lived in both places. Cherish what you have here. I said, because it is very special. But I remember my very first day in this new neighborhood that was strange to me. I was about 9 years old, and I was walking down the street, and across the street was a park on Lake Worth, the west side of Fort Worth. And next thing I know, I heard a horn honk behind me. I'm 9 years old. This is in the 70s. And I turn around, and it's a Fort Worth policeman. And he pulls up, when I say rolls down the window, because this was the 70s, he cranked down the window. And he said, young man, are you all right? And I said, well, yes, sir. He said, well, what are you up to? And I said, he had a puzzled look on his face. And I said, well, I got to catch the bus for school on Monday. I said, so I was seeing how long it takes me to walk to the bus stop, and the officer chuckled and he said, oh, you don't want to do that. And I said, well, can you tell me how long it would take me from here to get to the bus stop? And he said, well, I don't know. Nobody your age has ever made it that far before. So that was an eye-opener for me. So I immediately turned around and went back home. I don't think I came outside again for about a month after that. So, living in a rural community has a lot of attributes that just far too many to list. But we have an outstanding and dedicated group of employees and elected officials that work for Brown County. We have, did I see anybody else come in? I see Commissioner Worley, and I thought I saw Commissioner Shaw come in. Did he? Oh, there you are. I'm sorry, he did. Sorry. And then we have our county attorney, and they all work very hard every day for you. And I think it's important that we recognize them. If you don't mind, can we give them a round of applause? And then, of course, my staff is here. And before I go any further, though, a lot of the figures that I'm going to present to you tonight they began years ago. And I know I saw Bob Contreras. Bob, where are you? I said, oh, there you go. I can see. When I came in, I went to the commissioners and I said, we need to, I would like to get our grant program centralized where we have one person in the whole county that we can go to. I said, I can find the money in my budget if y'all will give me the permission. I would like to hire Bob Contreras. They gave permission. Bob came on board and work for us. And then just a few months ago, Bob decided to go back to the classroom. He now works for Brooksmith ISD, and Pat is what we call Bob 2.0 now. So Pat took over, but both of them do a fantastic job, and Stephanie over behind the camera does as well. And a lot of the figures that I'm going to present with you tonight, and I don't want to throw a ton of numbers, but I think it's important that you see how hard your county government works for you. And it is indeed a team effort. From the commissioners to every other elected official and every other employee in that building. It's everybody working together. And I think that is very important. And as I mentioned earlier, and I said it with the greatest level of respect, there are 5 of us that make up the commissioners' board. And we, most of the time, believe it or not, we do vote together, but sometimes we do have differences in the perspective of the way we see things. And that's the way it's supposed to be. It was, I think, Jefferson who said, look, if everybody in one room is all thinking alike, then no one in that room is thinking. So, you know, and one of the greatest life lessons that I ever learned was from a naval captain, captain of an aircraft carrier. I got asked when I was in my mid-30s to go over to toward the end of the Bosnian War and help teach some classes and help with a few war crimes investigations, things like that. Nothing, most of it had all settled down, but they were rounding down the military personnel and bringing in civilian contractors. But I got to meet the captain of the aircraft carrier, and he told me, he said, this is one of the best lessons I ever learned about perspectives and leadership. And this is, I think of this often when I'm sitting with the commissioners. He said, essentially, you remember the Titanic? I said, oh, of course, you know, I remember history. And he said, did you know that when the Titanic struck the iceberg and then it sailed on for another 10 or 15 minutes, the captain was so tunnel visioned, he panicked, and he was so singularly focused on his problems, he didn't see that the solutions were right in front of him. What was his problem? And I didn't remember that much about it, but the captain began to tell me, he said, well, he was presented with a problem back in that day. He only had about enough lifeboats for half or a little less than half of everyone on the Titanic. He said that was it. But the answer to his problem was staring him straight in the face. And some of you may have heard this story before, and you may know, because he didn't claim authorship of it, but he shared it with me. And the answer was, the captain of the Titanic was so focused, was so tunnel vision, he didn't realize all he needed was 4 hours before the Carpathia, the closest ship, could get there and could start rescuing people. But only half the people would fit in the lifeboats. The other half were going to go into freezing water, and they wouldn't last 10, 15 minutes. The answer was what? Because he wasn't thinking outside the box. The answer was the iceberg he just hit, which knocked a hole in the ship. All he had to do was circle around and shuttle people to that big floating block of ice. They'd have been cold, but they'd been alive. But he didn't do that. And because of that, we all know what the result was. So and that's what I love about being a part of a commissioner's court, where there are 5 different ideas. Because hopefully, if one of us isn't thinking on spot or on track or the way we should that night, or looking at a problem from this particular angle, there are 4 other minds up there, 4 other very well educated, very well experienced minds that can help us get back on track or get us to where we need to be. When I was studying to be a psychologist, one of the first things that they taught us was when you find yourself in tunnel vision or you find yourself bogged down with a problem, they said, go home and rearrange your furniture. Tell your patients to go home and rearrange your furniture. I said, rearrange your furniture? They said, yeah, rearrange the furniture, then climb up on a chair, climb up on a table, and look at your house from a different angle. Move things around so that you're not accustomed to seeing it, so you begin to think differently. Now, there's a lot of wisdom in that. So I think seeing things from a different angle is vitally important. But before I go, I got another joke I have to tell. It's a commissioner joke. Commissioners, I hope y'all don't mind, but it was a county commissioner, and he was out driving his rural roads one day, and he said he was driving, he was looking, inspecting the roads, and he looks up in his rearview mirror and he sees something run across the street behind him. He couldn't quite tell what it was, so he slowed down a little bit, and it's a chicken that ran right up beside him. So he speeds on, goes on his way. Next thing you know, he's going about 40 miles an hour, and this chicken runs right by his car. he just leaves it, like he's standing still, and he thought, my goodness, that's the fastest chicken I've ever seen in my life. So he sees the chicken veer off and goes down the driveway, and he looks over, and there's a farmer out there on his tractor. So he pulls up. The commissioner got out and walked up, introduced himself, and he said, I'm your county commissioner. He said, I was out here checking the roads, and he said, I got passed by a chicken. It ran up your driveway. He said, oh yeah, that's mine. That's some of my chickens. And he said, well, he said, I'm sorry, but I swear that chicken looked like he had 3 legs. And the farmer said, yes, he had 3 legs. He said, I breed them that way. He said, it was a brainstorm of my wives, and we breed them that way so we can get more money for them. And so the commissioner looked at the farmer and he says, well, goodness, are the chicken legs good? Is the 3rd leg good? He said, well, I don't know. No one's ever been able to catch one. We haven't been able to. So I thought that was hilarious. Our sheriff isn't here tonight. I see Chief Mercer, but I want to give a special thanks to the sheriff's office. Sheriff Mansfield and his crew do a fantastic job. Mainly the ones we see every day, the ones at the courthouse, but they keep us safe and secure. But we know that 24 hours a day, his deputies are out, and that's very much a team effort also. And I couldn't be more proud of them. I miss that profession. Quite honestly, I miss it terribly every day. It was part of my blood for 3 decades. So I want to hats off figuratively to the sheriff, and also I want to also talk to the other judges in the county, our district judge, our county court at law judge, our JPs, Doug Hurt, Harold Hogan, Brian Thompson, and Ted Perez. They do a fantastic job every day. I want to make sure they get mentioned as well. And I would be up here all night if I mentioned every employee in the courthouse. They're very important. I thought I saw our district clerk come in. She's happy. She's going to make a clean getaway by the front door so she can get out fast. But Cheryl, thank you for coming. And thank you for all that you do as well. It does not go unnoticed. And then, of course, our 4 constables, Robert, Troy, and Roy. And if he was here, I would give him a hard time, but he's not. So Mikey Wayne. So he does a fantastic job as well. So a salute to all our elected officials, again, and all our county employees. And, I wasn't sure that I would be able to just 18 months ago, as many of you know, and I make fun of my own health, I had a heart attack, ended up having to have heart surgery, so I wasn't sure I was even going to be able to make it. And I remember it was at the height of COVID, so you were only allowed to have 1 person in the hospital with you, and it was my father. It just so happens my father knew the surgeon who was doing the surgery. So I knew that he would get the inside scoop and all, and they've been friends for a long time. But my dad said after it was all over, his friend, the surgeon, came walking out. Kept walking out to him and said, he said he walked up to him and he looked at his shoes and he said, I've got some, Randy, my father, he said, I've got some bad news for you. But my dad said, I knew he's been a jokester all his life. And he said, I had a feeling he was joking because he was trying not to grin. And so he put his hand on my dad's shoulder and he said, despite all our efforts, your son managed to pull through regardless. So you're going to have to take him home in a couple of days. So I healed and I got to come back. But just the other day was my 13-month or so checkup. And the doctor said, he said, well, Paul, you lost 54 pounds. You were doing so well. And he said, now you've gained 10 pounds of it back. He said, I told you to start refereeing high school football again, that you could start jogging this year. He said, did you do that? I said, yes, sir. He said, I started jogging. I said, but I'll be honest with you, doctor, my problem is we have some great donut shops in Brown County, and I tend to jog right toward those. So I gotta cut back on the sugar as much as I can. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about, well, I don't want to go any further. I know that I've been trying to make the atmosphere lighthearted, but I also want to remind everybody that we are still dealing with COVID. We know a lot more about it today, but I think the most important tool that we can have is education and to not be afraid of it. There's not a person in here that it hasn't affected. I know that. As a probate judge, I also preside over probate court, which most people don't know what that is until something unfortunate, until you lose a loved one. But that has to deal with the wills and the probate, somebody's estate. So just about everybody in the county has been touched. Just last week, I lost a very dear friend. He doesn't live here in Brown County. He lives down in Austin, but like so many others, he had a pre-existing condition and COVID made it worse and he didn't pull through. So with that being said, I want to take just about 10 or 15 seconds of silence and to pay respect to everyone in our county. 212, as a matter of fact, as of 5 p.m. today, lives we've lost directly from Brown County. Now, all of them weren't because of COVID, but COVID certainly made a lot of their conditions much worse. So just a few minutes if you don't mind. Thank you. Thank you. And again, I think the best thing that we can do is try to get life back to normal as close as we can. I was mentioning my father earlier, and he was asking me over Christmas, is this the new normal? Are things ever going to go back to the way they were? Honestly, not for a while, I don't think. I think this is something we're going to have to deal with for the foreseeable future. But eventually, it will wear itself out, just like every other pandemic that we've had in the past. I will tell you that at 5 o'clock, we were just under 43% of our county has chosen to be vaccinated. And I try never to speak on behalf of the commissioner's court. I'm just speaking myself, but I have visited and listened to the commissioners, and I do believe that I can say this, is that we are all of the opinion that if you want to take the vaccination, that's wonderful, but that is your choice. And the government really doesn't have any business telling you to forcing you to take the vaccination. It's great. I recommend it. I'm not saying any of the commissioners do, but myself, I had to have it for my heart condition. I had 0 side effects. So I would love to see us get that 43% up and over 50%, but I don't know if we'll ever get there. I think we've probably hit a plateau, but it is available to everybody watching on television. The vaccinations are free. All you have to do is go to the health department. I recommend you call ahead of time to make sure that they've got slots available that day, and there's no cost to it. There's no co-payment. There's nothing. The vaccination is free for you. You can also get COVID tested. They asked me to announce to everyone watching on television in the audience that if you do feel you might be symptomatic, please do not go to the emergency room, and please do not go to the health department. Please go see your family physician, is what Lisa Dick, our health administrator, asked me to convey to you. Please go and see make an appointment and go and see your private physician. Our ER is overwhelmed, our hospital is full, and the health department just simply doesn't have enough tests to test every single person that comes through the door. I do know that yesterday they launched a website where you can now order, I believe it's up to 4 tests per household, and they're free of charge also, where you can have them shipped directly to you if anybody watching would like to do that. And again, that's free also. So over the past 3 years, Bob had some wonderful success before he decided to go back and be a teacher again. But the total dollar amount that we've collected, and I don't want to throw a bunch of numbers at you, but I do want everyone to hear the total dollar amount, and the commissioners know this, they have the same information that I have, but for those watching on television and in the audience that aren't aware, we received, or on schedule to receive, a little over $9.2 million. Now, and I'm going to share with you some of the things that we've done with a portion of that money already, and some of the funds that we anticipate are still coming. For example, over the past, I believe it's 2 years or so, $214,600 toward improvements on well, I'm seeing County Road 368. I thought that was County Roads in general, but that's 368.
Oh.
Okay, I got you. And then $206,000 from the Texas Infrastructure Fund to help us with our county road repairs. And all the commissioners, let me once again say that they do absolutely everything that they have a budget to do. They do, and sometimes they're able to achieve things. I don't know how they were able to achieve it or make the dollar stretch as far as they have. But I wish that we could afford to pay every road in the county, but we just simply can't. And I don't think anybody would want our tax rate to be at a place where we could afford to do that. So we have to live within our means. Last year, or I'm sorry, 2020, we received $707,000 for the, what was titled the Coronavirus Relief Fund. That money did not come out of the pockets of anyone in, well, let me reword that, because anytime there is a federal income tax, we all pay that. But what I mean is it didn't come out of your city or county tax, and of course we don't have a state income tax, and it didn't come out of the revenues that you pay in on your property tax as well. That came directly from the Treasury Department in Washington, and we had an option, and we had the same option with the ARP fund that I'm going to discuss in just a minute. But we had an option. We could either accept that money and use it for the benefit of the residents of Brown County, or the commissioners and I could vote to give it back. And if we send it back and didn't accept it, they're just going to take that portion of our money and they're going to give it to another county or another government entity. It wasn't going to go back in the bank anywhere. And it wasn't going to make anyone's taxes go down at all. So we decided to take it and we put it to good use toward trying to mitigate the spreading of COVID. We used, as a matter of fact, I can tell you specifically some dollar amounts. Let's see if I can find it on here. Yes, we've given almost $30,000 toward COVID clinics, the drive-through clinics and all the vaccination clinics that we had. And then over $63,000 we have given out of the county's portion of that COVID relief fund to the health department for their various needs. And no doubt they're going to come back. They come to us as they need additional money. We don't just give them a blank check. They come back and they tell us what they've spent, what we've given them on, and what they need new additional funds for. And I think it's important that everyone know that. We also used it to, a portion of it to help make sure that the courthouse was cleaned thoroughly every day, and buy some machinery that helps us disinfect in the courthouse, because at some point in time, almost everyone has to come in the courthouse either to get their license registration, to pay their taxes or anything. We want to make sure it's as safe an environment as we possibly can. So a lot of that money has gone toward that. We shared some also with the Center for Life Resources, and then a huge portion of the ARP fund. Now, the ARP fund is the second portion of money that we received last year. The American Rescue Plan is what they titled it, ARP. And on that one, we will receive just over $7 million by the time it's all over. Now, they've given us half in the beginning, and then we're supposed to get the second disbursement of that sometime late this summer. But let me tell you a little bit about what the Commissioner's Court has done and the county has done with that. 174,000, if that figure is right, Pat, Bob, toward water improvement, another 317,000 on provided to Brooksmith Water. I've got 350,000 to May and 255,000 to Zephyr. Now, what did a lot of that go to? Remember this little thing we called, it's been titled an ice storm that we had this time last year? Okay, the commissioners shared that money with these different entities and enabled them to buy generators. One of the biggest problems that we had is when the power goes down, they didn't have a way to pump the water, even if the water wasn't frozen in the lines leading to your house. If you're not on well water, if you're receiving water from one of these special utility districts, they can now get that water to you. But now the other problem is almost everybody, if not everybody in the county, buys their water from Lake Brownwood and the Brownwood Water Control District as well. So we had to help them make sure that they're able to get the water out to Brooksmith and to May and to Zephyr. And also we helped them as well. And it was going to be terribly expensive, over $2 million. Just an initial purchase to buy large enough generators to make to be able to make that plant operate. Now, I'm not an engineer. I don't know the logistics of it. I try and listen to the people who are experts in the area, and that's what we were told. So rather than do that, everybody put their brain power together, and we found the option. If you recall, in the winter storm last year, when we were without power for as long as we had, and it was mainly because we didn't lose power here. Power was shut off to most of Brown County. It was deliberately turned off this part of the state, because they needed to funnel what limited electricity they could generate to other more populated areas. So there were no lines, well, there were lines down because of the ice, but the lines down weren't what was causing us not to get power. But if you recall, the grid in which the hospital was on, they never shut that one off. So that one kept power all the time. So what the Commissioners Court elected to do is rather than spend $2 million on generators and then also the upkeep that would come every year, working with the Water Improvement District, we were able to allocate, I forget exactly how much, just under $175,000. And they're in the process, I believe it may be completed by now, transferring the lift station to the same grid that the hospital is on. So if power is ever shut off to us in the future, that the lift station, as in the hospital, will continue to have power. They'll still be able to pump it. Well, if they can get it out to Brooksmith and to May and to Zephyr, then those special utility districts can use the generators they bought and get it out to our residents. So we have taken significant steps. We use that money to try and make sure that we don't have a repeat like we did last year. And Pat told me if I wanted to open with a joke, I didn't use it, but I probably should have. He said, if you really want to make everyone laugh, walk up to the microphone and say, look, I can tell you exactly the state of Brown County tonight. It's cold. And then just turn around and leave, because it is cold. It's going to be down in the teens tonight. But we also were able, on a one-time basis, able to fund a lot of nonprofits at a level that we've never been able to do before. For example, ARC, $15,000, $2,400 to Good Samaritan, Home Solutions, and we were able to help. We all know what our animal control problem is outside the city limits. So we're able to give them some of that ARC money to help them with they're able to make some much needed improvements. And then we were able to help our Brown County Museum, which was closed for almost a year. So they had no revenue coming in from people touring the museum. And then also, of course, and certainly not least important, help our public library that we share responsibility. It belongs to the city, but we also pay what we can afford to pay. So we shared some of the art funds with them as well on a one-time basis. We're not going to be able to sustain that every year, but it was able to, we were able to help them as much as we possibly could. We also spent just a little over, I thought it was $800,000. The notes here say a little over $1 million on, we paid off where we borrowed some money from ourselves for the new public safety radio system. One of the allowed usages of that ARC money was that. So rather than it come out of the pockets of, or come out of the coffers of our county taxes or our municipal taxes and all, because everybody had to pitch in with that one. We were able to pay the county's aspect. We were able to pay a little over $800,000 into that, rather than have to look at raising taxes. And by the way, I did confirm this again this afternoon with the auditor's office. I knew that, of course, I was sick for one of the full budget preparation, but I never recalled us raising taxes. And the auditor reassured me today that not only are we not, the commissioners not, and I want to give them the credit for it because I wasn't there one of the budget sessions with my illness. But they managed to balance the budget and not raise taxes. As a matter of fact, the auditor tells me they're actually a little lower than they were just a couple of years ago. Now, what I'm speaking of is the county property tax rate. We have no control as a county government over anything else but the county property tax rate. And I did confirm also with the Texas Association of Counties, we're not the lowest for a county of our population, but we're nowhere near the highest tax rate for a county of our population. So our tax rate is very respectable, and I hope that we'll do everything we can to try and keep it at that very respectable and bottom percentage-wise for counties of our population. We also have some other revenue avenues. We now receive unclaimed capital tax credits that we never received before. Or unclaimed capital credits is what it's called. It's not tax credits. That's where the comptroller, people in our area, or in portion, I'm not sure exactly how it's divided up, but like if a bank account is left dormant, that bank will take that money and then send it to the comptroller, and the comptroller then shares it with the various government entities. So over the last 3 years, that's not a small bit of pocket change, over $30,000 that Bob and Pat were able to apply for and make sure that we get, again, with permission from the Commissioner's Court. So that being said, the other day, I still teach college part-time, and the other day, one of my students asked me, he said, how do you know when you've truly began to, you've crossed over into the area of wisdom? And I said, well, for me, I said, it was middle age. I said, I wasn't in my college years, that's for sure. I said, but for me, the true mark of wisdom is whenever you're out, or you walk outside after work and you have a couple of different decisions on things you can do, but you choose the one that'll have you home by 7:30 p.m. that night. I said, in my opinion, that's wisdom. So with that being said, I'll leave you with the closing remark that remember the United States and Texas in itself is a republic. That means that while we have a democratic republic, in the words of Thomas Jefferson, what we actually have is a republic, meaning that it's important for you to get out and vote. Doesn't matter who you vote for, as long as you get vote for the people that you're passionate about. But my point is, it doesn't matter whether it be city council level, county level, state, or at the federal level. The important thing is that you exercise your right to vote and support whatever candidate you choose to do so, because we are truly a republic, and that is that you elect people to represent and make key decisions for you so that you don't have to go to the polls every month like a true democracy would require. So that being said, I want to thank you again for allowing me, I've already taken more time than I wanted, allowing me the opportunity to speak to you, and hopefully Broward County will continue to do this for every year for many, many years, regardless of who's standing at this podium delivering that address. So with that, I will wrap up and tell you thank you.
Thank you, Judge. I just wanted to let everyone know that we have these packets in the back table. It's just general information that Naomi Flores, one of our members, has put together. You're free to take a packet. It's got really good information regarding, like we had the redistricting, so it shows you the new redistricting and the new counties and all of that. So it's a lot of helpful information that you're welcome to. We also have cookies and water and coffee over here. And we want to thank everybody for coming out. And the restrooms, if you need it, they're over here also. So anyway, thank you all for attending.
Thank you.